W. Edwards Deming once said, "If you can't describe what you are doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing." This is the Producers Lounge podcast, the best podcast online for tips and tricks on producing great film, television, and web content. Welcome back for Season 3, Episode 20, hosted and produced by greaterandgrander.com. On this week's episode, we're chatting with W. Vito Montone, who has produced Disney PC games, video games, television series, commercials, and web content, including Math Quest starring Robin Williams, animated storybooks starring Don Rickles, Hades Challenge starring Keith David, and many more. We discuss a very eclectic career, including owning and operating a movie theater in Atlanta, Georgia, being a pioneer in internet marketing, an inside look into Disney during the Disney Renaissance period, the ins and outs of working at a studio like Disney and Paramount, the regrets he still has about that time, how to market yourself, and how the art of storytelling can lead us through an ever-changing environment. Vito originally started his career as an architect before quitting college, and then found his way into producing through a surprising but enlightening path as an entertainment and marketing consultant before he was even old enough to rent a car. He was also part of the group that spearheaded the Atlanta film production community and discusses his struggles networking as an introvert. I was excited to talk with Vito because he exemplifies how producing really is being a serial entrepreneur. And as he says, figuring out what amount of pain you're willing to endure as part of an endeavor. Here now is my conversation with W. Vito Montone.
Yeah, a real long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was the Produced By conference, like however many years ago that we first met.
20 billion years ago?
20 billion sounds about right. That's about how old I feel. Yeah.
I don't necessarily feel that old. I just go, it's 20 billion.
Got it.
For reasons that'll be apparent if you don't remember, if you didn't do research, we've been operating virtually since 2002. So, the pandemic was sad, but it was not impactful to us in other ways that everyone else was constantly lamenting about.
Okay, that's very cool. When you say us, you mean Verve Integrative? Because
my partner and our team members, our clients. I mean, my networking group. It just was okay, whatever. But
nice.
I'll save it for when you start to say the funny thing.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. Like again, it's very fluid, conversational. How did you get into being an all virtual network in 2002?
Wow. Okay, so that's I'm going to go backwards to get to that point, because it's quite what was happening in the pandemic was everyone was on Zoom. Which was very interesting because my son works for the company that provides the backbone for Zoom. So, they were very busy and the revenues were going through the roof where everybody else was especially restaurants and bars were in trouble. Thrown into all these quote virtual networking with Zoom, and the resounding conversations were usually, "I hate this. I need to get out of the house. This isn't real." And so this is going to be a theme that is going to be what I'm going to be sharing about my history and how I got where I am. But and I was always kind of saying, I'm sorry, we're really talking right now. This is real, right? And it wasn't Musk-like saying this is all a virtual game, but but we are talking. We have a relationship. We know each other. We're smiling. There's all sorts of body language. It's not even just like a phone conversation. But that peels all the way back to where did the trajectory for entertainment, some form of entertainment, whether it's edutainment or what you might call marketing in this day and age, because if it's not an experience and it's not deep and it's not in one with the customers or users or subscribers, then it isn't what you think it is. You're probably failing. So, that's something that informed me. I was fortunate enough all the way back in high school to get obsessed with wanting to be an architect. So in high school, I'm old enough that there wasn't AP classes. You had to create your own class, and I was allowed to do that. So I just sat in the back of the room and drew houses and buildings and worked as an intern for an architect. And then, of course, I got into Georgia Tech and Pratt Institute. Didn't want to go to New York. I lived outside New York. I wanted to get away, so I went to Atlanta, which everyone warned me, "You're going to Georgia." And I said, "Well, no, you're not. Atlanta isn't in Georgia. That's a different place, right?" So, but I wound up hating school. I mean, think about it. I was inclined. I was winning amateur awards for designs, and I was having my own class, and I had to pay attention to a teacher and told me to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and recite all the building designs names. And it's like,
oh Jesus, that sounds awful.
you know, oh yeah, it was slideshows where they just flash on like for 3 seconds, and there'd be 300 of them. That's the test. And you know, I literally wrote "F you" on the test. So, and of course was kicked out, you know, and decided not to continue. And I fell into entrepreneurship, but that's a whole nother journey. But where it led me is I couldn't let go of this thing that's really at the heart of architecture. And if you do some research, you'll find a lot of film producers, which I'm a little remiss that I haven't produced more films, because I really want to, but I haven't. And that's how you get sidetracked sometimes, right? But it's the blending of engineering, space, experience. I mean, it's all these things tonally put together, and it's a real mashup. And what do you think entertainment is? I mean, there's a path through it. You're trying to create a feeling, and you have all these tools to create a feeling. And that's what turned me on. And that was what my aptitude was. So that sent a trajectory that I couldn't shake. So even when I had my own engineering firm, believe it or not, in acoustical engineering, when Asha started, before it was, you know, colleges gave degrees, we were just experts flying around the country fixing noise problems. Again, environmental things connected to people. And I got involved in theater. So I, you know, fell in with a girl that wanted to go to a theater, and she took me to a black box theater production, and we ushered together. It wasn't like I needed to, we just ushered, and I caught the bug. She didn't know that I had a subscription to the largest equity theater in town, and I regularly went, but I just went as a quote with a group of artists, to that show.
Oh wow.
And
That's like a what was that one Spielberg movie, like Limelight, or that
oh yeah.
Yeah, where
you're sort of an imposter, but you're really not. You're kind of just infiltrated something, and you were really something else, right?
yeah.
And so I wound up selling my business and running the theater that I fell in love with for 3 years, working up to building 2 theaters in a space of an old movie theater for them, and getting the Woodruff Foundation to buy their building. So,
wow. So
architect. What's a producer? They put things together. They don't know it's you that did it. Nothing. It just, wow, that's amazing. This place has this now, right? But I still had the bug, and I started writing. I started independently producing while I was the managing producer of the facility that had dance, music, theater, and we only did new works. So it was really like a new show every time. So it's a whole different animal.
Yeah, and I gotta ask, and I like to go over the timeline.
I'll go
because
slower. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're good. But I like to go over the timeline because I feel it's often helpful with these kind of stories. So you went to Georgia. You went to Atlanta for college, Georgia Institute of Technology. You started your own business focusing on acoustic engineering, and you were running that business for 12 years.
Yes.
And then you decide to pivot after those 12 years and say, I'm going to now essentially run a theater. Wasn't that like change? Wasn't that frightening for you? Like,
I mean, isn't every TV show, every web series, every film frightening? You start, you keep acquiring expertise or experience, like, oh, I've seen that. I'm not going to panic here. I mean, the stories are endless, like of that kind of thing. But when I was in the engineering company, we were actually on the forefront of doing what is now called internet marketing, but there was no internet. So we were doing direct marketing, and so it was a new industry. We broke the industry. We were part of that whole scene, and we used mass mailing, and we did a mass mailing and answered the phone for 12 years from one mailing. So
Oh, wow.
you learned that, and then the industry institutionalized, it shifted. It's almost like maybe what's happening network TV versus streaming business, right? You try to hold on, but you can't, and it's shifting. So, then really huge companies moved into the space. The colleges were graduating people with degrees in what we wrote books about, and got into the Library of Congress before anyone knew what to do, how to fix these problems. So we were always breaking ground in that sense. So that was in that's the 70s to the 80s kind of thing.
Yeah, I on your LinkedIn,
Yeah,
it
when
says,
you look deep enough, yeah, if you keep going down, you see a crazy collection that people always go, what, who are you, kind of thing. And to tell you the truth, there's a lot of, and it's interesting because this is in a sense educational or sharing. Like, I'm not sure it was a good idea what I did, because there's people that pick one thing and they do that for 30 years or 40 years, right? And now they're at the top of something. If they're good, it has to be good. There's an assumption. But I varied all over the place. And there's not something that I don't see that's happening out in the world that I have not done in one time of my life, which is a weird segue that we'll get to timeline-wise about the metaverse. There's a part of it that's hilarious to me, and there's a part of it that I'm sad about, and I'll explain what I mean by that.
okay.
So let's see, that was into the 80s, right? And it was the heydays, flying around solving people's problems. The first time I had to go to a consulting gig, I didn't realize I wasn't old enough to rent a car. So there's a lot of problems when you're just focused on what you're doing and not thinking about it, right? So then I decided to sell the business because there was a bunch of life change at the same time. It wasn't one thing. It's one of those classic 3 things happened at the same time, and it just go, oh, it's easier to clean the slate. And then got influenced by this girl that is still my wife today, who's a stand-up and actor and the co-creator of Verve. And so we've been together 31 years married, and almost 40 years all told. And we create together, so that's a whole nother thing. But I got the bug, and I just volunteered at a theater for 3 months, and they didn't realize that it could actually pay themselves and actually run a business. So all of a sudden I created the business, and we got the funding, and we got the building, and all that kind of stuff. But I moved on. I said, well, this town needs a television entertainment program. So really deep in the background is I decided to produce a TV show. Never did it before, but I decided to do it. And again, the skill of blending all these different things together, whether it's talent, space, creative pieces, engineering, whatever we had. Well, I created Atlanta Entertainment Tonight. It was Atlanta. Oh, I forgot the name. Holy moly. Well, I just showed my age. I actually, Entertainment Atlanta, that's what it was, Entertainment Atlanta. And we made up our own press passes, and we went running around and went into a TV station, I think it was a CBS affiliate, and said, we're gonna make this, would you like to put it on air? And they said, yes. That was it, that was the pitch.
Now, was the show based out of the theater, or was it?
No, that was just in parallel. And so because there was a transition from the theater, then I became the executive director of the Atlanta Theater Coalition, which was all the theaters. And no one really there was no way to voice local entertainment on television, except maybe a show picked it up as news. So that was like, well, I'm going to leave the association, the Theater Coalition, I'm going to create this television show. So it was this, how to help this space and how to do something that I loved.
That's so interesting, because like a lot of times you hear the story of like an entrepreneur or producer, and I use the term interchangeably because I do feel like producers are really serial entrepreneurs.
It's really bad. Yeah, it's really bad.
But a lot of times someone will come in, they'll say, I'm going to help this theater, I'm going to manage the theater, and then I'm going to get a TV show out of the theater to help promote it and
to promote the industry. Because the industry, I was at my last board meeting for the coalition, and said, okay, everyone close your eyes. Okay, the attendance is 1 million people a year.
Uh-huh.
Okay, close your eyes. Could you see 2 million? Everyone said no. I said, I quit.
Wow. Okay.
And that's mind-boggling. But I was embraced by the television world, put a crew together of 30 people, and started producing television. In just a few weeks or months, Hollywood found us, and all of a sudden we were on the circuit. So we got everyone coming through town for movies. We were shooting, we're in the press junkets. We had everything, and every public television station picked us up, and we had rebroadcasts. But what I didn't know how to do at that time, I didn't have a marketing department. I didn't have a sales department. I was making things. And there's a difference between, great producers learn how to sell enough that they get the freedom to disappear into making something. But for me, making anything, whether it's a script or it's a commercial or a marketing plan or a video promotion or whatever it is, I disappear. I have to disappear, literally. Can't think about anything else.
Right.
And it's a glorious, selfish space to be in, at one with the creator, just listening and doing something. So I wasn't wise enough at that time to have that other department. So I, got it to the point where it was sort of neutral in cost, but I didn't get it to a place where it was sustainable. And and I was in Atlanta. So and this is before Atlanta has become Atlanta, if you know what I mean, right? This is the thing about stick-to-itness. Do you know what I mean?
Well, wait. I've only been to Atlanta once, and I kind of know what you mean when you said like Atlanta is not part of Georgia. When you say Atlanta is
what
not
I mean
Atlanta.
by this way, when I was there was no entertainment industry, zero.
Long before CNN or.
Oh, CNN had just started. The only person in town was Turner, Mr. Turner, and he was starting some cartoons and, and the news. And it wasn't really news that I was after. It was the connection to the industry, right? That I was really after. And none of the other stations would pick it up and pay for it. And I said, well, I'm going to go to work for Turner, or I'm going to leave. I had no option. To me, I felt like I had no options. And it wasn't in a time where, internet brought us instantly together, and I could pick up the Zoom any second, and I could be, we're right here. It doesn't matter where I am, right? Which is what people ultimately learned, that was true. So yeah, I jumped ship right before the Olympics for the timeline.
The 96 Olympics, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what brought me to town. This story is mind-boggling if you want to see. My method was following a strange path that I didn't know where the path was leading, or what the path was. It a gravel road or a stone, or did I get on a river? I don't know what it was, but it was just wandering, in a sense, following what attracted me. As compared to somebody that said, I'm going to make a film industry in Atlanta, and that tight group of people that stayed together beat on the state until they gave the incentives. And if you look at how much production is in Atlanta and Georgia right now, made in Georgia, if I stayed, I would be there, but I would have to have suffered and struggled all that time. So it's always how much pain you're willing to endure is to how high you're going to rise.
That's so interesting, because I'm going and this is a personal share. Like, I'm kind of going through a similar thing right now, trying to figure out how to like decide what I move to next strategically, whether it's a smaller project or if I have the luck of getting a larger project, where do I focus my efforts? And trying to figure out what that strategy question is that I need to ask myself is very difficult. And it sounds like you just said like you're going to wander and you're going to do what interests you and go from there instead.
And fortunately, I had the aptitude. Right. And even when we advise entrepreneurs nowadays, it really is, it's a new part of what we call master plan is, what is your aptitude? And, you see in the personal growth industry, because we did a good stint in that industry as well, is that, you hear a lot, follow your purpose, live your dream, all these, cliches. But in reality, you are trying to find that. At the same time, you're trying to pay the bills, maybe raise a family, so it's never perfect. There's some sort of weird compromises going on. And now we get into what schools don't teach anybody is critical thinking. So you combine what your aptitude is with what your focus is with critical thinking skills so that you choose the right things. I could tell you every mistake I made more than I can tell you everything good that happened, because good just happened.
Okay.
And it just keeps happening. And the only thing that I'm at now is I'm, like it was going down this path, and then it kind of diverged a little too far away from each other. And I'm trying to see how to close it back again. So in the timeline, so I left Atlanta before the Olympics. No prospects, no nothing, just left.
Came to LA
and had this television and the reel in the pocket. Had a play that I wrote and produced, and we put on video. It's actually about Watson censorship trial. It's a fascinating story, and we even shot it for the foundation in the real courthouse that it happened. Yeah, fascinating story. But that was another quill in there, right? And so I said, well, where do I want to live in Los Angeles? And Kim at the time didn't want to jump from Atlanta to LA. She wanted to go to New York to study at Circle in the Square. And I grew up in New York, or near New York, and I had no desire to go back there. So we set her up there and got in Circle in the Square, worked for Gray Advertising, and was set. And I wandered out to LA and decided, well, hey, in LA, there's a beach. I will live on the beach. So I lived on what I call it's actually Architects Row in South Venice Beach, 6 blocks south of Crazy.
So your wife is in New York, and you go out to Venice Beach. Live there for 6 months.
I'm working on a screenplay, thinking I'm going to meet some people, and actually staring at the sunset and watching beautiful girls in rollerblades go by, basically, because I'm literally on the beach. And making my wife very mad because she's in New York, and it's moving towards winter. So I love telling this story. I hope it's not too woo-woo or gooey for you, but
not at all.
I was, trying to go to lots of events, trying to figure out how to meet people. I'm not really an extrovert, so I'm doing my best. And I said, you know what? It makes no economic sense, but I'm going to rent a convertible and drive around LA, and it's LA, I'm here, that kind of silly thing. Like you could see the montage in a show, right? And I'm driving down, which road was it? Is it 5 or I think it was 5. I've forgotten all the road highway names, but I'm driving by Burbank and the Disney building.
Right.
And I literally said, blaring the music, loving everything, saying, I'd like to work there. And I went about my way and enjoyed, for the next week or so. And I get a phone call. And it's a person that we were one of the first AOL members ever. Because again, remember, I like engineering and technology with moving people and making them laugh and cry, right? And putting it together and delivering it on time and on budget. Yes. This was my thing. So I drive by, this guy calls me up and says, we've been chatting on AOL for so many times. Disney just released Lion King, and they made so many mistakes in the software, it crashed the Burbank phone switch. Could you come in and help us? Because at that time, who knew computers and internet, or who knew anything? It was, and we had a quote, virtual relationship. And I said, I would love to. I don't know what I would do, but I would love to. And I got to go on vacation first. And as soon as I come back, I'll start. And they said, fine. And I walk into the building, and it wasn't on that lot. It wasn't the main lot. It was the Glendale lot where all the big warehouses are. And I walk into an empty warehouse, and I look in the floor beautifully through a sunlit, a light coming from the ceiling.
A shaft of light?
Yeah, shaft of light coming down through a window, and it's sitting and hitting 60,000 pieces of paper stacked all over itself, were the incident reports and complaints.
Whoa.
And
that's
he
a
said,
lot.
we gotta fix this.
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay, well, it's just a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be solved. So I ultimately, at the guy that hired me, who actually worked for Wells' son, Kevin,
Mm-hmm.
who got called in because he was computer literate. I don't know what to do. We're going to throw a bunch of money at this. Somebody in the family better watch this. And he's just sitting in an office trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I had freedom to do whatever I needed to do. So I invented the department called product support, which we then had to hire a bunch of writers because I knew a bunch of starving writers. And we had to create a database. We had to analyze all these problems. We had to codify them, create a database, create all the communication, outward communication to go when someone came in or calling them back, and how not to ruin their computers, the solution, because they really botched the software release. They actually released it without any testing.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah, like, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying that, but they did some testing, so somebody's going to say I'm totally wrong. But you know, testing is a rigorous thing, and there's lots of computers and lots of chips and lots of video cards. I mean, there's so many things. So I did that, and I don't know. I blinked my eyes, and it was years later, and they brought in a heavy hitter to create the whole customer support department for Disney Interactive, and I helped with a great friend of mine, Rachel DePaula. I did the product support side. She did the customer support side. And under this guy's leadership, we made an amazing department, and the stock rebounded, and Eisner was so pleased. He came and threw us a party, and it was just an amazing turnaround. And I was asked, what would you like to do? And my boss at the time was saying, just tell them a lot of money and stay where you are. You would just coast. Your life is set. And I said, no, I want to make things. You just had me mop up someone's mistake. I want to make great things that don't have the mistakes. And they moved me to the creative productions side, and I produced Animated Storybook, Math Quest, and Hades Challenge. Not only did they give the person that never made anything, they gave me 3 projects at the same time. And it really didn't bother me. It was just more people. But we wound up inventing a functional spec process called, we named it Dreams. Disney's Amazing Everything Management System or something like Dreams. And the other producers in the team doing other products wanted on my system. So I put everyone's PA budget together, and we wrote our own, basically, computer system using FileMaker. And we cranked out specs. And I delivered every product on time and under budget. And that division, should I stop?
No, go ahead. Okay. I have a ton of questions to ask you about that.
Well, you're going to have to figure out when to stop me, because I'll keep going. Okay. I'm an introvert, but once I start talking, I can't stop.
Okay, well, so, in that case, before we get into Math Quest and the other projects, so let me ask, you, for context, you were around at Disney at a critical point during what is commonly known as the Disney Renaissance. This is post Little Mermaid, post Beauty and the Beast, and Disney's coming back from the dead, essentially. I found in my own experience, in particularly big entertainment companies and studios, like that corporate environment is shaped dramatically in terms of how people reshaped, exactly. Yeah. Like in terms of how people feel about the company, how people interact with the company. Did you feel a palpable change over your time there?
Well, it was more than palpable, because in that 3-year stint where I did 2 full titles and got through half of the last one.
Mm-hmm.
The division
Mm-hmm.
had 3 subdivisions:
Mm-hmm.
edutainment,
Mm-hmm.
entertainment, and education.
Mm-hmm.
In 3 years, education never produced a product. In
Oh.
3 years, entertainment produced 1 product that failed miserably. And edutainment made 10 products, being wildly profitable, but it wasn't enough to save the division.
Mm-hmm.
And the head got shipped off to, Disney retirement zone someplace, and it got eaten by something else. It started to turn into the online version really
Mm-hmm.
quickly, because we were doing ROMs, right? I mean, there
Mm.
was nothing but a computer and a ROM. Internet was just starting. There was no way you were going to serve a game off over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the whole division got flushed.
Right.
And as much as they open fire hoses,
Mm-hmm.
they know how to close them.
Mm.
And because there's a lot of stuff that went on that I won't talk about, and how it really felt, but it felt horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I again was offered something.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the
Mm-hmm.
only one that delivered anything on time and under budget? Who was that in the whole group? Me. So they said, would you run production for us?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I know production makes things, but I don't have any creative hand at all. I'm not influencing how it works, what it says. There's nothing in there. And everyone said, take the head of production, you write your ticket, you'll retire, blah, 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 blah. Stupid me. Nope. So I left.
Mm-hmm.
And figured I'd start my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd do something else. So it was palpable because it was real, right? And so the first wave was all the really loose dead ends and things not in process, future things. And the second wave was everything else. And even though I was going to management classes and I was, fully integrated into, I had Disney socks. I mean, I had everything.
Uh-huh.
I didn't take the deal.
Uh-huh. So
Stupid. I should have took the deal. Yep.
So let me ask also, you've worked, doing kind of engineering in a strictly engineering kind of department, the acoustic engineering,
pure engineering.
pure engineering, and then doing
physics, basic physics.
Yes, and then you did product support and then manager of edutainment at Disney. What is, for those people who are contemplating a entertainment career, what is the difference between, like, how did it feel between a pure engineering company and an entertainment-based engineering position?
That's a really good question. How did it feel? Well, for me, it was closer to where I wanted to be. I grew up reading books. I would spend, again, introvert. I spent the summer reading books. I would read all Tolkien's books for the whole summer. I mean, so it was story that, and it still influences us now. It's just this element of story and storytelling and how to do storytelling. Because even when I landed here, I got involved with screenplay systems. Do you remember Dramatica? It's an engine to help create stories. It didn't fully take off because no one trusted technology and didn't know how to adapt it. And no one wanted to learn it. They wanted to keep it like it's magic. There's no way to help me with this. It's all me. Even though silently we're consulting with people and fixing problems based on the software and our instincts, right? But it was always story. So for me, the engineering, it was presented to me. Actually, how I got into acoustical engineering was I didn't start it. It was started by a frat guy from Georgia Tech that came to town and said, I'm going to do some stuff with hearing. Anybody want to earn some money? And I said, sure. And again, that's how it started. So it doesn't matter what the problem is. A producer has to have critical thinking skills and has to know when to compromise. What is the path through? Every path's different. Some of them really super suck, but there's still a path through them. I mean, we all just saw, the series. I'm going to butcher the names because I didn't have to say it very many times. So I have to say things over and over again. But the one of making Godfather,
The Offer.
The Offer.
Yeah.
absolutely amazing, a great insider story. And if that's not a producer and what a real producer is, even though it was a little extreme, that's what it is. And hopefully your stakes aren't that dire. And I finished watching that series in tears and said to my wife, I'm not making movies of that size now because I wasn't willing to risk as much as he was willing to risk. And I think I can't speak as a peer to someone that's lofty in our industry at all, but I would imagine that they probably risked something or things, or were willing to risk something that they may never admit, or it's like going to therapy. They don't want to talk about. So I think that's the difference. What are you willing to risk? Or what did you set yourself up for to risk safely?
Hey everyone, quick break here. If you listen to the Producers Lounge podcast, you know I'm obsessed with how stories get made and who gets to make them. That's why I wrote Threads of Imagination, a book about collaborative storytelling and the art of building worlds together. Published by DSTL Arts nonprofit, which supports young BIPOC artists, the book pulls from my own personal history and even from my family history and the tradition of itinerant tribes telling stories around the campfire. Threads of Imagination is a guide to collaborative storytelling and how ideas grow, evolve, and become something bigger when people create together. Whether you're a filmmaker, writer, artist, or just someone who loves the process behind good stories, this book gives you practical tools, creative prompts, and real-world insights to elevate your craft. That's right, Threads of Imagination is full of exercises, behind-the-scenes lessons, and inspiration to help you create with purpose and community. If you're looking to jumpstart your next project or sharpen your storytelling instincts, this is the place to go. You can find Threads of Imagination wherever books are sold online. All right, back to the Producers Lounge podcast.
Now, wasn't that a perfect commercial break?
That is a perfect commercial break.
There is a way to manage risk. What? How? Well, that's another course. That's another course. Go to this place and give your email and name, and there'll be a video course there waiting for you. Yeah.
And now a word from Audible.
Right, or SmartList or somebody. Yeah. Yeah. So you put where you want to put it back.
Okay. So you were saying like there are ways to manage risk. How do we manage risk?
Well, it's either, I'm going to just say two extremes that come to my top of my head. You buy nothing, you set up nothing, and you live with family and friends, and you don't take on any burdens that are going to cause you to make a different type of choice. It's the old theory of, I think it was Romans, the way they would win a war is they burnt the ships that you can't get back. So, you get across the thing, they burn the ships, you either kill everybody or you die. That's how they won. And it's just a version of that. Now, of course, that's pretty extreme, but it can work. And then you got a little fake it till you make it thing in there. And but then there's the real world is where you create a life partner that has some stability, you make some commitments and some real things. I'm doing this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to change the path this way and that way. Or you work your way up. I could never do it in the industry. I could never, and it sounds like it was ego, but it wasn't. I just don't know how to keep my mouth shut when things need to be fixed. Right? So just becoming a PA and just sweeping sodas around, hoping to get in front of the right person to show that you can solve a problem. I couldn't see that path. I couldn't see it. And I created a life that needed a little more money than that.
Right.
And so there's the rub, right? So then I had to choose something else. Oh, well, with my skill set and aptitude, somebody asked me to do this. Oh, I could do that. Oh, I could charge more for this. Oh, you need this. Oh, I could charge more for that. Until it got to a point in our career that we could literally charge for a particular expertise $1,500 an hour. Well, how do you go and work as a PA? How do you do that?
Yeah.
You could volunteer. You could,
You could be an usher at a theater. Yeah.
You could be an usher at a theater. You could volunteer to manage it. You could, write a screenplay and say, I don't want to be paid. I just want you to make it. And I'll be on the set to do rewrites. I'll help you. Then you're learning, which takes time to learn, that you can't do it alone. And when you have a little too much aptitude, you can do too many things yourself, and that's not really necessarily a good thing. So there's an interesting balance to learning to be a collective, but still not have decisions made as a collective, because those die. That's when you have to balance egos and everyone gets what they need. But that's, if you're not going to do the first method, starving artist method, then you have to have critical thinking, how to make the decisions, which thing to do, which thing not to do, which thing is too seductive, what's going to happen. And at some point, there were things that were a little, like the production offer to be head of production for Disney Online, was seductive, but I couldn't see it because it wasn't where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I thought what I had done would mean something. Hard reality, it didn't. I didn't learn the right things to market myself in the right way, to convert it to something else. Does that make sense? Because what really converted super well, because I managed 3 titles at the same time, it's like, if you can do 3, why can't you do 30? We need that. We need that. Please, would you take this job?
So then,
but I could have done it. Absolutely.
So then you hit on a very important topic, which is marketing yourself. And I'm struggling with this. I actually had an interview yesterday for a gig to write a feature. It went pretty well. But as far as marketing yourself, like, what do you feel like is like the key things people need to know or ask themselves when they're marketing themselves?
It's another super great question, because it's a subtle thing. Because if you're in the wrong spot, and I try to explain what I mean by that, it doesn't matter what you do. And so it's somehow recognizing, while you're doing the great thing that you're just doing now, where is this pointing to now? And making those relationships while that thing is not done. Because once you're done, you have to lift again. So you looked at my resume. Most people don't. And if you saw the pretty, and I have my own website and it has a bunch of shit on it too, but it's, there's a lot there. Just think of what I've been thrown at, and that I've every time never done it before, and either won an award or got the praise of the client or got paid really well. Nothing but generally positive feedback, unless somebody's actually the client's actually crazy. I mean, they do exist. So I know I came out of that thing with Disney, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't make any relationships. I was head down, managing people around the world, making this, with developers, working East Coast, West Coast, Germany. It was all sorts of things, and I had my head down. I had to. More of my battles were with corporate, because they kept saying I couldn't do what I was doing. It was not possible. And of course it was, because I did it. But no one, it was new and strange, and it was like, that's my spot, new and strange. So I wasn't really prepared, and it was months and months, and finally I landed through a headhunter, a executive producer job, the executive producer of Next Generation Entertainment at Paramount Digital, which was an organization that went through so many changes over and over and over again, because Paramount was always, behind the leading. They weren't ever leading, and so they were assessing things, and we'll try this. Oh, I don't know. Let's try this now. And people were getting shifted and lives messed up and all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah,
But
I worked at Paramount for 6 years. I'm well aware of how they operate.
yeah, but one thing I did there is I made friends with consumer products, and I
Mhm.
made friends with the legal group.
Mhm. The legal group?
Yeah, business affairs, excuse me.
Got it.
The lawyers that really control everything in entertainment industry, whether it's ABC, Disney, Paramount, doesn't matter. If you can't get through the lawyers, it doesn't really matter. Unless you're with the chairman and the chairman says, figure it out. If you're not that person, you're going to go through some hoops of some kind, right? So I landed that role, but I tried 4 or 5 different kinds of resumes. It wasn't my thing. I don't know how to do it, because oddly enough, I've been blessed. So now in the Verve integrative, I do that for clients, and we're selective, meaning we don't do small projects, we do big things. It has to have some sort of good in the world. There has to be something they're trying to change or impact. And usually it's 6 months to years is the engagement. So, it's almost more like a partnership. So we're not looking very often, if that makes any sense, right?
Yeah.
And then usually they come back, or somebody recommends you. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
Which is not the recommended marketing thing. But I think if I unpeeled it, whenever especially in this day and age where nobody really stays anywhere longer than 3 years, really, or it's super rare. I know at Paramount there were people that were there for their lives, and boy, they were.
I'll say it. They were they were serving a life sentence rather than being there for a life career. Yeah,
and a log and an impediment, not a springboard. And I have a story about that. But
okay.
it was always something in the woo-woo side of things. Something always happened, and it always seemed to be, oh, I could do that. And whether I ever did it before, I mean, I just generally have that attitude. I don't really care what it is and how much money it is and what the timeline is. As you get older, you go, that's too much trouble. You're not willing to give me the control I need to do that. Right? Because the only way a producer really does anything is if they're in control. And it doesn't have to be mean. It doesn't have to be tyrannical. It just has to be, everything has to go through this funnel. You're giving birth. It's a birth canal. It's got to go through there, and somebody's got to control that birth canal. And if you're not controlling it, it won't happen. And even in small projects, and even in Verve, it happens all the time. Somebody goes off the reservation and thinks they could make the right decision, and they're usually wrong. And so it has to be fixed. And you're just trying to catch that as fast as possible. So marketing, I think in the entertainment industry, because I'm definitely not an expert, but my instinct would be build the relationships of what's next while you're in the thing that you're in.
Right.
It's going to make it so much easier. Otherwise, you have to think of your next gig as your side gig, and you're readying the script. You're readying the, I might say from a business standpoint, executive committee, but you're the director, the writer, the cinematographer, yourself. You're getting some gel happening. So then all you have to do is, oh, well, I just did this project, even though I never met any of the executives, but I did this project for the studio, and I have these people together. Would you hear a pitch? And I guess nowadays it's probably easier because everything's virtual. So there's, it's easier to pitch. Even for actors, I mean, everything is on, it's just little video clips, right? I mean, there's no casting calls anymore. So that's my insight to it. I don't know if it's helpful, but it's my insight.
Right. So just
it's what I wish I had done.
Yeah. So basically, if I could paraphrase back to you, like, it's not a question of like traditional jobs, how people think like, okay, I'm going to work this and then I'm going to get financial stability and then I'll move to the next one and I'll just get hired. No, it's always about, you're always marketing yourself.
Well, unless you're willing to live in the corporate world. Right. So then all the jokes and all the movies and series, are you okay with being a suit and attached to the industry, or are you a creator?
Right.
There's a path. And maybe you can be a suit of your own studio when you get there, or your own. I mean, look, Perry, right? Tyler Perry. Jesus Christ. I mean, theater out of the car, living in the car. I mean, you know, all those stories. I mean, what was he willing to risk? Absolutely everything. Absolutely everything every day. So, and now he now can run a studio in a more benevolent way, and he can be a suit. But not be a suit the way we're saying it, right? Yeah. So otherwise you are looking like any other industry, even the software industry. You're in it for, you think, I'm going to be in it for a couple of years. What's the next title? What do I need to push towards? Do I jump ship, or do I leverage it inside this organization? And so it's crafting the path. My path happened to me because of a passion and an ability.
Right. An aptitude.
Yeah. An aptitude. Yes, I tested outrageously high in abstract reasoning. And it was like, oh, let him do whatever he wants. That's what happened. And that's luck. That's just a luck. And it's not like that was something that came from my parents. It was just a mix up that happened. But then look at the choices. Did I want to already be retired and have a mountain home and, a beach home and this home and that home? Well, I would have been the head of production. Right. And I would have to wear a suit every day, and I would get farther and farther away from the product, and I would just be looking at the performance of teams. Right. And how do I change their tools to make them go faster? And how do I, step in when there's the right time to step in? And as the Disney guy coached me, he said, you could just write your ticket and relax. And I wasn't ready to do that. So you make choices. But what happened out of the Paramount stint was couldn't be a suit, couldn't really know. Everyone knew the politics. I hated it, didn't like anything about it. It was just people holding their jobs. And somebody that was there that has become very successful. So, I mean, it is a path. I know the path. And there's people that are there that have not become very successful, right? I mean, that is true. But I said, this internet's going to be something.
Yeah.
And
I think you might be onto something with that.
Yeah. and games were working. Gaming, right? Games. And the entertainment industry. And look, Disney tried to do a Twitch game, and it didn't work. They didn't understand how to do it. It didn't work. And it's like, look at these brands, especially Star Trek. They're letting it kind of languish. Everyone's getting super rich and complacent. What's going to happen? I didn't know what was stewing in the back, but I said, why can't we create a fan virtual world around Star Trek? Now, what year did I say that? 2002. What was the internet bandwidth at that time?
Small.
That was just 56K modems.
Yeah, just enough to get pirated songs. That's about it.
Yeah, and to run a really rudimentary world. But it was such a new idea that we created a 3D virtual Star Trek convention. And I started trying to raise money with investors. I was willing to risk everything. I walked down the hall to consumer products, and I said, if I can prove to you and jump through all the right hoops, will you give me the license for free? And they said, yeah. And I talked to legal, and they said, well, it's on the internet. It doesn't exist anywhere. It wouldn't bother any of our regional licenses. Why not? Try it. So all of a sudden, I'm getting all these green lights, right? And then learning to deal with investors and people falling out and falling in, inventing technology, putting in a server farm, because I left Paramount Digital and said, I'm doing this, and they saw that I was doing this, and it's the nastiest thing that you can imagine. They tried to sabotage it technically, but we knew that they could, and we had the right firewalls, and they would attack, and they'd do everything, and we would repel it. And we made it through licensing, and we made it through all the reviews and arguing about an ear on a virtual character for 3 weeks until we created the technology side and created the world. And there's some videos on my site and there's all sorts of stuff. So now we're crossing into, what are we doing today? A metaverse? It's kind of cute. So anyway, so we're going to create a floating hotel. We're going to sync it up with a real live convention. Because there's no real broadband, I'm going to have to use a satellite truck, and I'm going to have to beam. So I beamed the real live convention up and then inserted it in the virtual conference room. So all these little avatars could walk down the hall with the right pass and get in that door, and they could see the stage in Vegas.
And this was 2002, or this is Metaverse today?
2002.
Whoa.
And I'm going to say something self-serving, but I actually deserve an award. Okay. But anyway, so we pulled it off. And so we got results that we never expected. Thousands of people, not enough to make it economically viable for the first time, but we had no marketing budget, so we were leveraging the brand. All the webmasters of the world were hated by Paramount and loved by us. So they would do anything for us. And that's how we got 1.2 million people to visit the website in the first month.
Wow.
And we pulled it off. And the biggest thing was we couldn't get the people to leave. They were on 4.5 hours a day for 3 days. And people were saying, it's just kids in their basement. They're going to be on there for 20 minutes. All the stereotypical bullshit. None of it was true, of course. And it was mothers and fathers and families. And we had people from the Vatican. We had every 99 countries were on this thing. And so I put all the stats together. It was unbelievable. The stat sheet is unbelievable what was achieved. I walked into the vice chairman's office of Paramount and said, I just did this. I want to make it permanent. I want $5 million. And he said, Paramount's dying. Star Trek's dying. We're not investing in anything with Star Trek. And what, 2 or 3 years later, JJ came around. So, and the whole thing was revitalized, right? But in a very traditional way. So there's a timing problem, too early. And what we used was story and theater to pull it off. So we hired the actors from Star Trek Experience that know their backgrounds, they play a character, and we put them in the world with the public. They didn't know that. They all looked, you could buy different uniforms. You just, whoever you were who you were. So you didn't know the backstory. And so people were having conversations for hours because somebody had a wealth of knowledge and a fan had a wealth of knowledge, and they were debating. We interviewed authors. We put we had a fashion show, all sorts of things in the world. And even Paramount was gracious enough to let us use the Borg character before it was released in character form officially, in tchotchkes and all that kind of stuff. And we, one of the days we released a Borg into the hall, and people went apeshit because at that point they were integrated into the story, and now there's a Borg that has the power to wipe us out 82 seconds, and they're running away. They're looking for security. I mean, it was just the most amazing thing. And the testimonials were, you changed my life. I didn't realize we could be connected around the world around something we love in such a real way. They're buying drinks in the bar. I mean, it was just amazing. So when you see things now talking about what are we going to do with the metaverse, it's like, you're really confused about that? I don't understand. And now I'm going, do I need to hang my shingle back out as something, a metaverse consultant or produce something for the metaverse now that we have real bandwidth and real computers? And, it's very tempting. But my path has been somebody asks me. You see, so, will I get asked? Is this apropos that we're having this today? I don't know, maybe. But that was risking everything. And because Paramount wound up saying no, I couldn't get, I went to every major franchise. Terminator, it developed concepts for every major brand that we could create a world, a virtual world around that.
Yeah.
We had Quark's bar out up in the space. We had all the things they were familiar with. They had all sorts of passes. We had a virtual trading board. I mean, it was just mind-boggling what we pulled off. And that was 90 people around the world. From when we were friends with Russia, it was Russia, Germany, Sweden, the United States. I mean, all different countries, to make that happen, even just to program it.
And I think it's interesting to note that you also did this like 5 years before a lot of people even started talking about transmedia and
Yes,
like cinematic
yeah.
universes.
So that's what got me into the Producers Guild. That was my award.
Mhm.
And it has, and I was very involved for I don't know how many years, and then it was like, oh, now there's this thing called transmedia. Okay, well, that's cool. Okay. Consulted with ABC a little bit about what could be really done in this, and if you actually thought about marketing as you were making it as compared to after you were making it, you could actually have the audience with you. And of course, they bristled. We don't do that. And so, watch what's going to happen. Right. So now everything is batch released, and there's viewing parties virtually about everything. And, the fans are like voting and commenting on casting. Well, what did you not understand? And that's what I don't have the patience for. You give me something, tell me to solve it. Don't kvetch about it. It doesn't. What's the point, right? Because every moment it's going to change, right? Now you have the metaverse with this headset and that headset. It's always going to be changed. It's never going to stay. But that's not what defines it. It's storytelling. It's experience. It's brand truth. What is the truth of the thing you're doing? Can that story become something that's a brand? It has a promise. It means something to people, and it's unchanging. And that's the stability people look for. So I thought I would risk everything, and I did. It was quite devastating in life, and had to completely rebuild from an empty shell, because after a year of pitching it with proof, not just a concept, with actual proof, it didn't matter because it was still too early.
Right.
And by the time it wasn't too early, I was asked to do something else. And I was asked to do something else. And then now it's about our life and family and where we live and where we travel. I mean, it became different.
You mean as far as like what kind of projects you would take on, or?
Well, or what opportunities I'm putting myself in path of.
Okay.
Because as silly as it was, the story about me driving by Disney, and I'm telling you, this is the truth. This is not me speaking from a stage trying to sell you a product and telling you a story, because it's a good story, but it actually is true. And what was true about it was I was happy. I was on a path. I wanted something, and I voiced it. Yeah, is it The Secret? They made a lot of money. They were really bad people, but most of the people in that industry are not nice people, but they know how to extract money. So you can learn that. That's even how, after the 2002 thing, and then a year of them not buying, we created a system for entrepreneurs to create branding for themselves. And there was Seth Godin, a lot of people were talking about brand. And big agencies know how to sell it and write, a big check for it for big companies, but entrepreneurs didn't know how to do it. And we took all the experience we had and made a process, and said, oh, look at what these personal growth people are doing. We're going to copy their techniques and sell a product that has value, as compared to a product that was empty. Because their goal was to drain your bank account, making you better, right? As compared to, no, here's a bunch of skills, and we're going to teach. This is the exact thing we do. I'm telling you, you could replace me. It's not easy, but here's the steps. And that's what pulled us out of the hole. We were literally at zero. And in 45 days, we had our first sold out workshop and sold the process for $500 a shot with it, and hadn't written it yet. So didn't know what we were doing. We just committed to do it. And what does the producer do? They make stuff on budget and on time.
Right.
Because if they don't, they're trading on something. And eventually that is going to run out. And, I just use that same technique for anything.
Okay. So what do you have coming up next with Verve that you're excited about?
Well, there's two client projects that are mind-boggling. One is just been rebranded. It's called Funful, and it's aggregating all the live action entertainment locations and venues in the country into a marketing platform at a flat fee. All you can consume, bring your family 20 times this month, it's a flat fee. Mind-boggling, taking a disparate, disorganized industry into and offering them a marketing vehicle and a great savings to families. And even our own industry, it's like, get off the screen, get outside. But we do include movie theaters because that's getting outside, at least for a period of time, and getting in with friends or family, and there's social interactivity as compared to diving deeper and deeper into metaverses and worlds. We have to have a balance. So there's got to be another alternative. And we see it ultimately as something that could fit with a Disney, could fit with a Netflix if they understood that there's this other world that you could leverage together and give them all sides of entertainment. So that's a really huge project. And another one is called Honest Rides, which is an app for discovery and gamified earning ride credits, so you never have to drink and drive again. So it's to change behavior, that you drink to your heart's content, go to a smokehouse or a cannabis lounge, all you want. The ride's on us, it's free if you use our app. And there's a huge project coming down from the Department of Transportation calling for the use of safe systems. The only way they're going to get, because what's happened is impaired driving is on the rise, and it's really serious. And it's the first time in so many dozens and tens of years that it's going the wrong way. And it's because there's no holistic approach to it. And one of the safe systems components is safe people. And safe people is honest rides. Use your behaviors, your natural behaviors, have fun, go out to eat, make plans. The rides are on us. We're integrated with Uber or Lyft. We'll pay for them if you just use our app. So that's another massive thing that we're getting closer to having, like an 18-month trial in a city. So that's a Verve. And then the other part of Verve is we really think it's time for BrandU Plus or BrandU Pro. Because there's so much more that we've learned. We want to add to the BrandU curriculum. And because of the pandemic, there's the Great Reset. And a lot of women that are really excellent at their jobs are tired of working for the suits. And there is already a surge, we're not creating it. There's already a surge of women leaving and creating their businesses. So they could use guidance and tools. So those are the three things that are the most exciting. We have other clients, but those are the most exciting, huge things. And then I'm trying to figure out, do I put myself in the path to do something and advise and create something more experiential that could live versus just, the Sims living a life, but around something that people love and an experience, using actors and script writers, using everything. In the metaverse, if that path crosses with me, I have a screenplay I wrote that I'd love to do, which has legs for two more, and then I live in a small town now of that's grown to 100,000 people, and it was like, do I start a theater company? It's like probably what you're struggling with, but maybe in a different way, because I have this other thing kind of taking care of me. It is, how do I stabilize that and step out?
Yeah.
And then which of those paths do I take? And it's exactly the same, probably. Like, what am I going to put myself in the way of? Who am I going to say, hey, we should talk?
Okay.
And oddly enough, this interview that you asked me to do, that somebody is going to see and hear, I'm sure, which we started the path how long ago? 2 or 3 months ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's here, and I can say these things because these things are fresh in my mind. These are actually, so this is like a part of my path.
That is
Right?
an incredible path. Yeah.
It's a stepping stone. Who knows what this could be? And of course, the people on the metaverse. Do you think I reached out to every one of the panelists? Absolutely. Some of them responded already. So who knows what will happen?
Right.
So I do see winding down from sort of the agency work, even though that's very creative, it's very impactful, and we got our place to be trusted to do the whole job, not part of the job. But it's, how do I get back to story where I have that blissful one with the maker experience, where you're just making something and following inner messages. It was very weird that we're having this today, because for some reason, as I was waking up, sometimes I check into YouTube for stuff, and I got hooked on Jim Carrey acceptance speeches.
Oh yeah, his commencement speeches and stuff are great.
They're mind-boggling. Of course, the commencement speeches are even more heartfelt. But even you could see the little inklings all the way back to silly acceptance speeches for MTV TV Awards, or the one he did the introduction for Meryl Streep's Lifetime Achievement Award for AFI. Unbelievable performance, and an amazing, without being too on the nose, the stuff of what he's really made of came out. And the room gave him a standing ovation.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, he's announcing her.
Yeah.
And they're all amazed by him. But he was not stealing it from her. He gave it back. I mean, he took it and gave it back. I mean, I've seen my partner Kim do this. We were in a room of 600 people, and we were learning that world. And we ran into the head person and said, she wants to do something in this next session. And he says, oh, can you do it? And yeah, she's a performer. He said, okay, around this time, I'm going to look over there and put your hand up so I can see you. And it was part of whatever the stick was happening. He wanted audience interaction, but it was her. And he pointed to her. And like everybody else, they get nervous, they stand up, where's the mic, all this stuff. She stood up, grabbed the mic, walked in front of the stage, faced the audience, and gave a testimonial about him.
All right. So normally I do wrap these up by asking, like, if you could give yourself any advice going back to Atlanta, what would you give yourself? But you specifically brought up, like, what were, the mistakes
and what would have happened if I chose a different path. Yeah. To tell you the truth, to answer honestly, I don't know if I would make a different choice, even though there's days that I wish I had made a different choice. But I think, our paths are our paths, and if we can somehow be at peace with it and weirdly happy while it's happening, even if it's not going well, it's when this sort of, I would say I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but I think, thought is energy, and, we're just bundles of energy. Something changes and you change. Can I remember all the time? Can I always be grateful? Can I always be happy? No, I'm sorry. That's idealistic. I mean, I'm not Eckhart Tolle, right? And I don't know if he's happy. We don't know. But it's somehow being in tune with your own path and I couldn't, anybody facing really tough choices, it would be, it's definitely look inward first.
Mm-hmm.
And especially as time marches on, definitely use some sort of regret checking mechanism. Is regrets building up?
Mm-hmm.
Like if it ended in 24 hours, you knew it was going to end in 24 hours, what would be the regret? And those are the things you need to move towards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It being the life, or it being an opportunity?
Well, no, well, let's say, you wanted to produce live action, you wanted to produce animated features, you wanted to write more.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you didn't, you want to be a studio exec, whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
if you knew you got the ticket and it's 24 hours, and the first 2 or 3 things that come to your mind that you regret, those are the things you better be working on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or moving toward.
Right.
So, you were saying you were questioning a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
what's next? Well, you got 24 hours to live. What would you have regretted not doing?
After the past few years, that's a long list, I'll be honest.
Well, but it's kind of funny with even brand creation, we help people with lists because especially a brand is coming out of the entrepreneur, right? And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't give it some life essence from yourself, then it blows in the wind, it changes all the time, and the people can't connect to it. And it's just like, imagine every 3 pages the writer changed his mind about what the story is about. What do you think it's going to look like? It's going to look like trash, right? So, but it could be a long list, but then that's fun. Now it's like, oh, well, now it's not about my death and it's not about regrets. Here's a list. Which one's easy? Which one's hard? Which one I can't live without? Which one? And you start to prioritize it. What's critical thinking? You're the most impactful thing is the one you're going to choose.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the starting point. I mean, we, even for an entrepreneur creating a brand, we make them tell me all the words that you think you have to say about your company's product or brand or service. Tell me all the words. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes somebody will give me 100 words. And
Wow.
half of them are useless easily
Mm-hmm.
because they're really derivations, synonyms, all that kind of stuff. So then there's a whole process that we use to group them and understand them, and then prioritize them. And then you get down to like, oh my God, I stand for these 4 things. Holy moly, I can stand behind that. I could go over any obstacle knowing that I'm doing these 4 things. And that's then you started to put power into it, energy into the thing. So that's the same thing. And you're at this challenge. I never tried that process before, but in the last month, I've been starting to think of, yes, age is moving up there. I'm not anywhere at any risk of anything, but it's just like, well, is this the last 20 or the last 30? Okay, what is it? And what would I regret? And there's some things in personal life, and there's person, and then there's career or expression, you might call it. You're expressing yourself. You're exchanging your energy for money by expressing yourself doing something, right? And is it something you really want to do, or is it somebody what they're willing to let you do? That's not a very fulfilling space to be in. But if it's really good money and you could bank a bunch and then do something else, that's a different. See, that's a plan. Then it starts to become a plan, which is what I probably should have done from Disney. I probably should have took the production job, negotiated a 3-year deal, and planned the entire time to walk away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right, but a little too inexperienced, frankly, to not know it's harder to get back in when you get out. The one that I come back to, other than I'm not hey, I quit college. I didn't get any of the college learnings, right? So anything that I've come across is because of experience. But the one thing that, and it's rather apropos for especially this industry and for what we're talking about, is if you don't know what you're doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing. And that's Edward Deming, the guy that was sent in to fix Japan after we bombed it.
Right.
And it's really, it doesn't matter what you have to make. It doesn't matter if it's television, it's a movie, it's a commercial, it's a marketing campaign. It doesn't really matter. If you understand the process that you have to go through, then you can do anything. And then that's why BrandU was teaching process. We don't. There was somebody. I'm sorry. See, I keep going. But there was somebody on a stage selling brand creation, and the hook for this multi-$1,000 conference was, "I will give you your brand in 5 seconds." And people bought that shit because people are lazy by nature, and they like shiny objects. So you can use that to the downside. Look at our political world. The loudest, the stupidest, the most outrageous gets all the attention. It should be the absolute opposite, but it's not how it happens. So that's the thing I live by. And people can get frustrated. They'll say I can't do it, and I'll say, I remember one time we were having a problem in a television studio, and everyone was trying to solve this tape machine problem, and like something, the feed for the next segment coming up wasn't working, and it was like everyone was panicking, and it was like, I said, are you going to stand here and just look up and watch the shit pour on your face, or are you going to step 3 feet to the side and do it differently? And we can do it differently. Why not?
And that is Season 3, Episode 20 of the Producers Lounge podcast. Thank you to my guest, Vito Montone, for joining us. You can find out more about him by checking out the show notes and subscribing to our YouTube channel at Greater Grander. Our intro and outro music today was Ophelia's Blues by Audionautics. Our episode still image is by Ricardo Tomas on Greater and Grander. We'd love to hear from you, and you can check out this week's accompanying article on greaterandgrander.com entitled Bellatrix Lestrange Prequel Series, a masterclass in dark branding, visual storytelling, and strategic media. Link in the show notes. You can stay up to date by following us on YouTube and social media at the handle Greater Grander, all one word. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever fine podcasts are found. And also, if you like what we do, share this podcast with a group who you think will enjoy it. Join us next week for more cocktails and questions, and until then, keep producing dreams.